Welcome to the Harpswell non-resident taxpayers meeting. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I'll introduce some of the staff members that are here tonight. Kathy Dowdy, back there, the town clerk. Tracy Gaudette, assistant town clerk. Katie O'Neill, our rec director. Mike Drake, our fire administrator. Darcy Kuchar up front here, the assistant harbor master. And from Mitchell Field, we have Don Miskill. And from the comp plan, we have Al Legros. Just a quick check on what's going on in town as far as non-resident taxpayers. The non-residents, we have 2,203 parcels of land with a value of $1,083,895,000. Residents, we have 2,815 with a total value of $1,389,043,350. So it's basically 44% to 56%. So it changed a little bit at the beginning of COVID, as most of us know. But anyway, I thought we'd start the meeting. Everybody's wanted to hear about the comp plan, I think. So it's a good point that Al Legros step up and give us a little synopsis of what's happening there.
No,
So I'll read it.
okay, or you can use this one.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. All right, now it's on. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you again. Some of you may remember me last year. I gave a presentation on the comp plan at the Horace and Bailey Island Schoolhouse, and I wanted to kind of update everybody on where we are right now. It's been a long haul. We've been working at this for almost 4 years. And I think in some ways it reflects the fact that we put a lot of thought into it. It's also a reflection of the fact that we tried to deal with a number of complex issues, some of which have no easy solutions. But we think we've come up with a plan that will lead us forward into the future for the next 10 or 15 years, and hopefully it will be favorably approved on November 4th when it comes before a vote. So let me start. This is the plan, and I'm not going to go through this. I mean, if I was in college and I turned this in, I would get an A+, I think, for the size of it. But there are several things that I want to share with you to make sure you understood. First of all, as I said, this has been a number of years in the making, but I wanted, for those people that picked up an explanation sheet or a data sheet on the way in, if you look, we've addressed 13 separate topics in this plan. This is not a one-trick pony. This covers the waterfront, literally, from marine resources, freshwater resources, and I won't read them all, but I'd invite you to take a look at the number of topics that we've had to address. Some of these topics are required to be addressed by the state in order to have a valid comprehensive plan. A few others are unique to Harpswell. But it's a wide, expansive document, and I would ask you to consider that as you look at the information that's available to you online and in other sources. The greatest debate that we've had in the town has been relative to housing and future land use. As many of you know and appreciate, affordable housing, attainable housing, as some people say in Harpswell, is a key issue, not only here in Maine, but all over the country. And the challenge that we have here in Harpswell is addressing that issue in a way that does not compromise what we have here right now. Our rural character, our natural resources, preservation of water resources, and so on. So we have to thread the needle in a very precise way to come up with solutions to this problem. The comprehensive plan does not propose a solution to the problem. That is going to be hammered out by the town and by the planning board, the select board, and ultimately by the community in votes that will have to be taken on how to address this issue in the future. What we're doing in the comp plan is saying, here are some potential solutions to the problem, not saying one is better than the other. But we've tried to thread the needle as best we can between what we think is possible here in the town and what we want to preserve in the town. Our goal is to have everything done by November 4th, which is election day. This will be a secret ballot, unlike previous votes that have been cast in open public. And so this will be sort of a new thing for me in terms of the comprehensive plan. By the way, the plan has not been voted on yet by the town. It's been in draft form since it started. We started here late November, early December 2022. And so it's been a long time in the making, as I said. So why do we want to have a plan? Why is it worth all this effort? Why is it worth all this blood, sweat, and tears, if you will? First of all, towns that have a plan have potential access to something like $80 million of state funding to do a number of different things. Developmental planning, looking at natural resources, looking at infrastructure, how to improve infrastructure, and a number of different grants that are possible. So in my mind, it makes a lot of sense for a town that is capable of putting something like this together to have something that we can present to the state to say, here's our plan, and this gives us access to potentially funding in the future to do a number of different things. The second main reason for a plan is to essentially unify the town. Here is our vision for the future. Here are the values that we have. Here's what we think is important going forward for the next 10 or 15 years. And here are some possible solutions and goals and objectives to accomplish what we want to accomplish. Again, the plan is not a legal document in the sense of prescribing specific solutions to problems that must be adopted by the town. They are recommendations that are put together, and the town takes those recommendations and has to hammer them out in the appropriate process with the appropriate committees in the town. So, where are we right now? In March, we were supposed to have a vote at town meeting. As some of you have probably heard, many of you, there was so much interest in some of the topics that were coming before the town for a vote that we exceeded the fire limitation for people in this building. I think there were, I don't know, how many, 400, 500 people, I don't know, more than that. I mean, it was incredible. There were lines out there, and that says that, and the comprehensive plan was one of those efforts, one of those things before that were coming before a vote. So when that went by the wayside, the select board and the staff looked at how to address those key issues. Some of them have been addressed already. The Mitchell Field issue with respect to the building, tear down, rebuild, or rebuild the building there. And what's the other one? Firehouse. Oh yeah, firehouse. Both critical issues. And then the third one is the comprehensive plan, which is going to come up in November. So, what have we done? We've taken advantage of the time since March of 2025 to now to relook at the plan. We've considered a lot of inputs, both formal and informal, and we've made some modifications to the plan. We've taken out a number of things that were somewhat controversial, one of which was in the housing section where it was proposed that we encourage the development of, or reduce the development of short-term rentals and encourage the development of longer-term rentals and permanent housing instead. That was controversial because a lot of people in town make a living out of short-term rentals. It's a critical part of the tourism industry, and a lot of people make a living, or part of a living, out of and depend on short-term rentals. So we eliminated that from the plan. The other thing had to do with providing additional opportunities for attainable housing, which on the surface sounds like a good idea, but we took it out of the land use section because it was addressed in other areas. In other words, we thought it was redundant to put it in there, and so we eliminated that. There are also a number of other edits that we made to the plan to try to make it more acceptable to the community at large, and hopefully that will result in a positive vote in November. The draft plan, as it stands right now, can be found online on the town website, harpswell.gov. You can click on harpswell.gov. It'll bring you to the comprehensive plan, and you can take a look at the changes that have been made over the last several months. It's line in, line out changes. We have to solidify this completely in time for the August public hearing. And then in November, solidify all of the comments that we have at the public hearing, put that, anything that we get in the plan, and then come before the town in November for a vote. So, we had a meeting at Cundy's Harbor on the 24th of June. That went very well. We're having a meeting tomorrow night at Warsonville Schoolhouse, where we're going to talk to people in the OBI area and talk about some of the changes we made, get feedback from them. And then on the 22nd of July, we're going to meet at Kellogg Church, Harpswell Neck, to get the west side of Harpswell and their perspective. So we're trying to go out to every part of the community and make sure they understand what's been changed and get their feedback. And again, the public hearing is going to be on August 16th here in this building, and then a final vote in November. So that's a quick summary of where we are, and I guess we'll open up to comments, questions that you might have at this point. If you have a question, I guess I want you to come to the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Joel Pangborn. I'm a non-resident, like everyone here. A quick question. Since the document is non-binding in the sense of not being a legal requirement of what has to be done, but rather suggestive, and since it's also supposed to represent sort of the sentiment of the community, I'm wondering if there's a method to get non-residents to be able to vote on it. I realize we don't vote in the budget and that type of thing, but could there possibly be I'm assuming we can vote on it. If we can, then tell me otherwise, but if we can't, could you do like an advisory vote or something, get our review? I mean, the 56-44 split of property and so forth is actually quite astounding to me. I didn't think the odds were that much. So. And just a thought, not to be controversial.
I'm going to turn that over to these folks here at the table. It's above my pay grade.
So that's a great question. I'm Christy Aon, the town administrator, and thank you all for coming tonight. Maine law allows a person to declare residency in one location, and where you declare your residency is where you vote. I, for instance, own property in another community in Maine, but I'm a resident of Harpswell, so I do not vote in that other community. It's a Maine law. You raise a point of, how can you get your voice heard? How can you get involved? It's been an ongoing process. They've held various forums. They've discussed this issue at last year's non-resident taxpayer meeting, and maybe the year before. I don't recall with COVID how many years we missed, but it's been an ongoing process, and so you know, you cannot specifically vote, but, you know, attend these community meetings. There's one tomorrow night. There's another one at the Kellogg Church, as Al said. But if you have really specific concerns about, again, the vision that's expressed in the document, then you can talk to an elected official, you can talk to myself, you can talk to the chair of the committee. We're making ourselves accessible. This is why we have this meeting. You own a lot of property in the town of Harpswell and you can't vote, so this is your opportunity to raise any issues you might like to raise. But first and foremost, we thought we would inform you about the vision document because it is so important to the town. It's a foundational document.
Does everybody have a copy of this? I mean, I know there were limited copies, but, all right, if you don't, let me read the vision statement. It's available online as well. But this is sort of an aspirational statement, which really kind of started early in this process, and a lot of our thought and deliberation was based on this. It states, in Harpswell, we cherish our rural roots, our flourishing fishing community, and the remarkable natural resources that surround us. We are committed to being a community that is a welcoming place to raise children and enjoy life as an older adult, where businesses can thrive and everybody has access to our vibrant waterfront. Now, it's a general statement, but when you start breaking it down, and we have broken it down into a number of different elements here, it kind of formed the basis for a lot of the discussion and analysis that we did to plan for the future. We want to be a rural community. It is now. Most people, I would say, want to maintain this rural feel here in the town. It's a fishing community, so we want to protect fishing, we want to protect access to fishing and so on. But it's also a community that has deep tourism and recreational capabilities, and we want to make sure that those things can act in harmony. Natural resources. When you look at Harpswell, it's a remarkable place in terms of geography and surrounding of the water and so on and so forth. There's almost probably no place anywhere that really matches this, at least in the United States that I can think of. But natural resources are critical. We want to make it a welcoming place, not only for older retirees like myself, but also for younger folks, younger families that want to come in here and live. We want to be able to have businesses here in the community that can succeed, not large-scale big businesses, but businesses that are appropriately sized and fit the scale and nature of the community. And we want to maintain access to the waterfront for everybody. Not only the fishermen, but also for folks that want to recreate and so on. So there are lots of different elements here in this vision statement that kind of drive us to a lot of different things in the plan. So if you don't have a copy, I'd encourage you to look at it online. It's available online, and that again forms the basis for this plan.
Thank you.
Anybody else as far as the comp plan is concerned?
You're going to be a movie star. I realize that.
To a non-resident like myself, what's your gist of how this affects
You
people?
want to say your name, Bruce?
Oh, Bruce Levitt, who lives in Vermont, but lives also in Bay Area. So, in your opinion, how does it affect the non-residents like us?
Well, if this plan moves forward, first of all, it will preserve the nature of the community that you have right now and that drew you to this community in the first place. I think the plan will preserve the value of your land and your investment in the town. And I think it will be a place that will be in contrast to, for example, what's going on in Brunswick and Cook's Corner, where people are building a lot of apartments and so on and so forth. So this is a place where I would say you can take a deep breath and relax and enjoy the natural environment. And hopefully in the future we can preserve that. There are lots of things happening at the state level, for example, that are going to challenge local communities in terms of how much control they have over certain things. And we'll have to see how that plays out. But those are some things that come to my mind.
Thank you.
In terms of what we're trying to do here.
Just after we started, some more staff walked in. In the back row, Margaret McIntyre, our new town planner. Beside her is Chuck Perot, the recycling manager. And then Debbie Turner, her town assessor, who you might have some questions for. Some of you probably heard we're doing a little reevaluation here in town, so. Any questions along those lines?
Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and
You're good. That's the first time, Alan. All right. Anybody else, any questions about anything else going on in town? I know there's a lot of things with the new central station, the tearing down of the administration building, the evaluation. Who knows what else? Anything along those lines? Criticism?
Raise.
I'm John Roberts. I'm a non-resident property owner. I own property on Birch Island for 32 years. And I've lived on Birch Island during the summer months for the past 22 years. My question is regarding the revaluation process that is going on in Harpswell at this point. I know Vision Appraisal has been contracted to do that work, and they're going to come out. I'm still waiting to hear from them to make an appointment for coming out to Birch Island to view the properties and so on. But my question is, they're going to revalue based on market value, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But I understand the market value can be assessed in three different ways: a comparative sales approach, a cost approach, and also an income approach. At least that's what the brochure that's on the town website says about it. Is there a weighting between those three methodologies? Is the sales approach the one that drives the actual figure that you're going to come up with for a market value? Or is it the income approach, because maybe I can rent my place? Or is it the cost approach, which would cost, how much it would cost me to replace my property on an island? So which of those three is the driver when you come up with that final number?
Actually, all three will be touched on.
Okay.
Join me.
Thank you. Debbie Turner, Boers Island, Harpswell Assessors Agent, selectman. Basically, the market approach is for real estate, residential homes. Then we've got residential homes that are now making income. So that could go into the cost. That's why I actually mailed out forms to people that sold their homes, and when they purchased it, was it the sale price of a real estate home or an income home type thing. The replacement cost could also be used for commercial part of it. So that's why I said for all of Harpswell it's all three. But what's going to happen to individuals, it will matter on what type of home it is, or a business is in the home.
Right.
Yep.
Don't go away, because
I know.
I've got more questions.
I think I have contact information for Birch Island to contact you when we get out to the island.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
So, my next question is in regard to property value. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not licensed to sell or, do anything with real estate, but I've purchased a number of homes over the course of 50 plus years. My question is, and I guess hopefully you're the one to answer this, but from talking to other two real estate agents, generally speaking, waterfront property is more valuable than non-waterfront. Is that a true statement?
I'd say yay and nay. Sometimes the view of the water is almost as valuable
Okay,
as being
all
on the
right.
water.
So having access or view access or physical access to water increases the value, the
Well,
market
the
value.
market is indicating
Right,
that.
okay.
The market.
Another factor is not just the view or the actual access to the water, but because we have, a 10 to 12 foot tidal range here on a regular basis. Some properties have what is considered deep water, where they can keep a boat at the end of their dock or wharf 24 hours a day, and it's not going to sit in the mud. They'll be able to access 24 hours a day. Others are tidal, and as a result, they don't have access to their property by boat 24 hours a day because of the geography of their property, and they cannot get to it as often or as frequently. So is there a differentiation in value, whether it be market value or assessed value, for tidal versus deep water property?
Well, I can't say the answer to that right now until the reval is complete. While they're collecting all the data of the homes and the view and the access of the water and the sales that have happened, all these different scenarios go into it. So I can't say that a tidal cove in
What
this
if you're closer to
area,
the mic?
if a tidal cove on Orr's Island versus a tidal cove on Bailey Island, a tidal cove on 123, they're all gonna have different values. You have deep water on Bailey's, you have deep water on Orr's, and you have deep water counties and Great Island, all over. They're all gonna be different.
Right, but if you had two properties adjacent to each other, and one is deep water and the other is tidal, would not the deep water be of greater value than the adjacent, same island, same location, the neighbor, have less value because it's tidal?
I don't wanna answer these questions yet, honestly, because I don't know, I don't have all the data, and I'm not doing all the data. Well, the vision is gonna collecting all this data.
Do they collect the fact that it's tidal versus?
Yeah, they'll have that information, yeah.
They do have that.
Yeah, of course. And
What
plus,
if-
while they're out there, they'll see, and while they're on the boats, going to the islands, they'll know that, Birch Island is only visited at certain times
Right.
with the tidal, and those that are
Okay.
surrounded by water all the
And in
time. We have
general-
100 islands for them to look at, so.
Okay, so properties on islands that don't have access via a road, Bailey's
Those would be
or,
assessed separately, like right now.
do they have a different
access.
valuation because they're only accessible seasonally, because they
Yeah,
actually,
different codes for them, yeah.
you do? Okay.
Yeah, we have a different.
Because 20 years ago, when I asked the same question, they said, oh, that's some good points, and we're gonna do a reevaluation. And I still haven't really seen the difference, because I'm on an island, not accessible by anything.
Well, we have a lot of island sales too, to help support certain things that we're doing, and they're all different ranges, types of land.
Okay. Related question, to get from market value to assessed value, there, according to the brochure, it says there's a factor that you use, and it varies by municipality, but there's a factor that you use to multiply, whether it be 0.8 or whatever, some number that you're going to apply. Is that uniformly applied to all properties?
All properties, even personal property,
Even so, whether it's
Yeah,
0.75 is for everyone?
everybody, even with people that have moved construction, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All right, there's got to be something else. Oh. Coming up.
Following up more on the assessment process. I've lived in a couple of states, different states, where my property was assessed, and the assessors never entered the dwelling. They do the inspection from the outside. Is this, and in our case, the property on Bailey Island is jointly owned by several members of one family. It's hard for us to guarantee presence at the particular date or make arrangements for interior inspections. This seems like a barrier, seems difficult. Is this required by the state, or why are we doing interior inspection?
Going down or
Um,
get closer to it.
Yeah. So basically, for those that want to have an interior inspection done, and they're only seasonal, I did send out forms. I'm gonna leave out the forms that we sent out back in March, requesting your phone number and email address so that we know when you are around, so we can schedule something. I have people that are calling me, they're only here once a year, so I will schedule something, and the data collector goes to their house, measures, lists it, and then you just sign the card that they collected the data type thing. So then you'll be done until the results come out in 2026. So if you want, if anybody here is here now or is only visiting once this year, give me a jingle at the town office or email me at dturner@town.harpswell.me.us. It's on our town website. And I'll schedule a data collector to come out and visit you. I know a couple of you might have filled out the forms, and yeah, so we'll be contacting you. I know I told the people as soon as they get to your map, we haven't gotten over to Route 24 at all yet. We've been working down 123, and we so I'm hoping to get over to the other islands, especially during July and August, because that's when your majority are here. And just give me a jingle. I'll set up an appointment. I have requested from the reval company to send us more data collectors, especially this time of year, so I can have somebody down, starting from West Cundy's Point working up, someone from Bailey Island working up, someone from Potts Point, because we're at right now Basin Point, Ash Point right now. And so we're going towards Potts Point, but I'd like to have someone down at Potts Point, and then when we're done at Potts Point, go out to the other islands, the islands that they need boat access type thing, and get those done during this time of year. So I'll give you, if you haven't contacted me yet, I'll give you a form. Okay, so I'll be in touch.
So you addressed the scheduling part. First part of the question was, why
Oh.
are you in two other states that don't do this at all?
Well, like I was saying before,
Definitely need a little more.
the reason why we haven't done this for 20 years. It was the last time we did the last reval. And so we are correcting or reviewing the data that's on our property cards of what we have for information on your property. Like, we're gonna measure the exterior of all the constructions on your property. The only thing we measure inside is if it's cathedral. In your basement, it might be partial finish, partly utility, and we break that out, so you're not being assessed at a fully finished basement when a portion of it isn't finished. So that's when we measure the inside. And that's the data that we get. We basically starting with the basement, finding out if it's finished, partly finished. Then we go to the main floor, we're just looking at your floors, your walls, then bathroom count, bedroom count, extra features, and that's about it. And then we get out, as soon as we get in, we try and get out, because we know we're invading. We don't want to. We just want to make sure the data that we're collecting is accurate, because I keep saying the better our data, the better results of our reval will be, is what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so a kitchen that has granite counters versus
A
a
kitchen that,
for bigger counters.
yeah.
So
It
many
is
square
a
feet
grading.
is a kitchen.
It's a kitchen. It doesn't matter the size of the kitchen. There's different sizes of kitchen. It's the material of the cost of the construction. Yeah, materials.
If I could chime in, and Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not required to let anyone in your
I was
home.
gonna tell them.
It's not mandated by law or regulation, but I think the point is that it will be more accurate, perhaps, your assessment, if the data collectors are able to go in the home, but it's not a requirement. They'll make certain assumptions if they don't go into the home. And so, you know, it's definitely up to you if you're wanting to allow that access.
Good point, thank you.
So basically, like, so far, we've done 1,300 parcels. And of those 1,300 parcels, 825 of them are complete. Interior, exterior, done. We had 84 of those were answered at the door. Basically, we just went over those information that we had on our card, and they just said, yes, no, we did update that. No, we didn't update. Oh, we don't have that anymore. Or like a hearth. They don't have a hearth. Or they got rid of a hot tub. Or they've gotten rid of, they went from vinyl to laminate. Or they changed something in their home. So basically, that's what we're checking off of the data. And we have 486 people that were seasonal, that we did not get inside, but of those 400, I only have 93 of them have contact information. So I'll be contacting those people to schedule an appointment, because what I was doing was I was scheduling people as she was going down, and she was able to pick up at the end of the appointments of where they finished off, type thing. So I didn't want her to be going from Potts Point, Cundy's Harbor, back to Harpswell, back over, but they'll start doing that now during the month of July and August, because what they're gonna do now is if I send them to a house on Bailey Island, to grab the pile of cards around that house and see if any of those people were there, type thing, so that she's not wasting time walking around, type thing. So she's gonna try to organize it to visit more properties in the seasonal areas. You're welcome.
I think another important factor to note is that sometimes people have done building projects without permits. And so when the data collectors are out there, they're looking at they may see the information that the town had previously. They may find some type of new construction. It might be an accessory shed, or I don't know what it might be. Somebody, I don't think you get a swimming pool in without the town noticing these days. But things like that are picked up over a period of time if someone perhaps did not get a land use permit to conduct a certain project. They may not have been aware that they needed one. They may have demolished something. They may have added on something. Maybe they thought it was small, they didn't need to do anything, but it may not be consistent with the information that the town currently has.
Good evening, I'm Steve Levine, seasonal resident. My wife Lori and I enjoy walking in Mitchell Field several times a week with our dog Chet. Off leash before 10 a.m., after 4 p.m. It seems like a wonderful balance, and we frequently run into Don Miskill, and I wanted to thank him and so many others who maintain such a wonderful resource there. My question is this: now that a decision has been made to demolish the building at the waterfront, can you tell us what other changes are going to be made? I've heard something about a boat ramp and a seasonal float. What's the plan and what's the schedule?
Don Miskill, Field Steward, thank you for the kind words. I'm just the face of a bunch of volunteers. We're all volunteers, and we're glad that you enjoy the property. It's available for everybody. I'll do 3 quick housekeeping things. Yes, dogs can be there at any time. On lead, 10 to 4. They can be off lead to go swimming. We ask you to pick up after. Speed limit's 15. And we're open sunrise to sunset. What's happening at the field? The townwide vote recommended, as did the Mitchell Field Committee, that we take the admin building down. And we had 3 primary reasons for doing that. Number 1, we wanted the open space. Number 2, we want to build a separate traffic pattern from the boat launch traffic. The boat launch traffic is going to use the old service road that's in the lower meadow that's closed off right now that we used to demolish the old pier. And so by taking that building down where the garage portion is, it's paved on the front and back side, and they're going to leave the slab. So that will allow us to have a circular drive-around pattern for people that are just going to the beach, scuba divers, kayakers, without interfering with boat launch traffic. which will have a completely separate traffic pattern. And yes, we all agree that we need permanent toilets, and we're looking at something along the state park line of pump outs, building with pump outs. So that's that part. The admin building, the first step in that process is we have to remediate the hazardous material. Those buildings on the field were all built in the 50s. They've all been assessed for hazardous material. So there are various forms of PCBs and caulking around the windows, some asbestos in the generator building in the boiler room. And regardless of whether you rehab a building or you take it down, you have to remediate the hazardous material first. Christy and I are meeting with Maine DEP in a week and a half, and we're looking for some funding assistance to help cover that cost. There are grants out there, and we're going to pursue that. That's the first step. Once we get that funding in line, then we can sign a contract to remove the hazardous material, and then after that, the building can come down. The other thing that you addressed is the boat launch. We've been dragging that poor carcass down the road since about 2010. We've weathered the cost increases from $395,000 to now $1.8 million. The town approved a $1.2 million bond last year to get us over, and all of that money includes $355,000 from the state too, on the original match. That final design has been reviewed by Maine DOT that manages the grant and the town. They provided comments back to them. GEI, that is the engineering firm doing the work, is addressing those comments. They will come back to DOT and the town, hopefully this month. And if DOT signs off on that, the town has several certificates they have to sign. But that's just a matter that the select board can take care of at a meeting, and then they can go out and request a contractor. The contractor can start after we have the boat launch, or the boat races on the 27th of July. It's the only consideration I have, because we need the parking in the causeway, and all of that's going to be involved in the work. The boat launch will be on the north side of the causeway. So if you're looking out at the causeway, it's going to be on the right, separate from the swimmers beach. The contractor will begin on-land work. The trailers and boat and vehicles will park up in the concrete pad, which will be redone for boat trailer parking. And they can get in the water by law in November to do the in-water work. We hope to have a boat launch next spring. Beyond that, similar to the comp plan, we're looking at rewriting the master plan for Mitchell Field. That one's about 7 or 8 years old right now. That's the first rewrite of the original one, and we'll be looking at doing those things. To the gentleman's comment earlier about how the non-residents, I'm at the field all the time. I'm open for questions at any time. We have an email address on the town website. You can send us email comments. We meet every first Monday of the month. All our minutes are posted. All the documents that we hand out and review at the meetings are listed and available electronically. If there's anything that you want, just ask, and we can get it right to you. And the master plan represents our proposed vision, but anything that's done as a result of the master plan has to go through the town process and be approved by a vote of the town.
You know, and the one big item this year is the Central Station. I can't believe we don't have any thoughts on that. I don't know if you walked by and seen the drawings we have of what it's going to look like, and price tag, and why we're doing it, or any of those reasons. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it or not.
Tell us about it.
What's that?
Please tell us about it.
Well, would you like to hear? But essentially, our fire and rescue committee, almost, well, I've been here 11 or 12 years, for 10 years, we've been discussing this. And all, you know, the old-time members are getting up there, in mid-60s, there's one beside me, probably 50 years in it, and a bunch of them get 40, 45 years into it, but there's nobody moving to town that's young enough to volunteer. You know, if you look around the room, it's kind of what we're looking like. And it all said it made sense. Right now we have coverage 7 days a week from 6 in the morning till 6 at night for firefighters. We have a 24-hour paramedic service. Our paramedic will eventually move up to the new station. And so we'll have a couple of fire trucks, and that's where our per diems and our part-time people will be working out of. There was some talk about building, you know, making the two other stations, Kenny's Harbor and Harpswell Neck, so you could sleep in those, but the numbers were, you know, by the time you did that, and if you could find the staff to man all three stations, it was more than what the central station is going to be. So we came up with this, but $6 million, it's a big price tag, but where we're headed in this town, it just makes perfect sense to do it now instead of later. 40 years ago, Oars and Bailey Allen were up against the same thing. Bailey Allen was doing all right, Oars Allen was barely keeping the lights on, and some of us got together and decided, you know, it was time to combine the two. It wasn't popular with everybody on the island, as everything else, but, you know, it was very successful, and of course, you know, they're still doing great over there, but it's the same thing. They only have one of their volunteers is a registered firefighter, I believe. The rest are all paid firefighters in the town. So as we kept looking at it, and the chiefs were all involved, and the committee is all, everybody's been involved in the town fire department for 35, 40, 50 years. And so they understand where we've been and where we're headed. There was a lot of talk, we should hire consultants. We've got about 10 people with about 300 years of experience in town. And so we kind of took their word for it, or an upside consultant. Those were our people. And they know what they're talking about. And the vote was close, I get it. And I'm not sure all the information got spread out as well as it could, but they did a good job showing times, you know, from leaving the mountain road to go to Oars Island or Harpswell Neck or Kenny's Harbor. Just recently, the per diems were over to Harpswell Neck, and there's something going on Driftwood Road on Bailey Island. You know, it's a half-hour ride. And same thing, something going on Harpswell Neck, and they're over at OBI, and same idea. They get 20, 25 minutes to get over to, say, Basic Point Road. So all the numbers were done. These guys crunched the numbers, you know, all the times. You know, it makes perfect sense. It's a tough thing to swallow. It's a lot of money, but it was inevitable.
May save a life.
Yeah, no, absolutely will. It's like the paramedic service. You know, when the town started that, I don't know how many lives that saved. You know, and this is the same idea, just a little more expensive. Oh, yeah, our fire administrator's here too, like Drake. Also an emergency management agent. He's been busy.
There, I'll come down here so I get to look at everyone. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. I just want to talk quickly about a couple of issues that will help us keep you more safe while you're visiting the town, or, you know, if you're here for the summer or whatever. Number one, who has a house number displayed nice and bright on the side of their house? Very, very, very important to help us get there. 2 o'clock in the morning when it's really foggy, we're trying to determine, is it this place or whatever. Very, very handy if you have a mailbox out by the street. Please mark both sides of your mailbox, because we have a lot of volunteers. They could be coming from the opposite side. So if you can mark both sides of your mailbox, and then when you come up into your driveway, maybe next to your front door, underneath the light that next to the door, or something on your garage, whatever, and an ambulance pulls into your driveway, wherever those headlights are gonna go, can you please put a number there so we can find you? We do have an ordinance, if you're less than 50 feet off the road, you can post it just on your house, but we prefer, you know, if you do have a mailbox out there, it helps us a lot to get to you faster. The other thing is, because of the needs that have been put on the fire service in the last 10, 15 years, we carry a lot more stuff. So inherently, our trucks are getting bigger. I've noticed a lot of driveways or private roads or whatever in town that are almost inaccessible. We went on a call last week. When we get back to the station, we had to dig a couple of branches out of the compartment doors, and there was leaves stuck to the side of the truck because we had to bust through branches to get down to this house that potentially had fire. So kind of keep it in your mind, think, can you see the big triaxle dump trucks on the road, or you see our fire trucks or whatever? Can that truck fit down my driveway? That's all we ask. Put a number out so we can find you, make your road big enough so we can get to you, and we'll get there as fast and efficiently as we can. Any questions? Yes, sir.
You talked about your capabilities for us islanders.
Actually,
You're gonna come out and put out the embers or what?
No, actually, we had a very generous donation last year. A gentleman donated a fire rescue boat. It's currently kept in safe harbor. So the plan is, Cummins Harbor has most of the boat operators for that. They come out, get the boat. If we do have a fire situation, then we go around to the Bethel Point landing, pick up the portable pump that's right there, and head off to whatever the destination is. If it's a medical emergency, obviously we don't need to get the pump. The greatest thing about the summer is we have a lot of fishermen that are willing to help us out. So the fire crews and their designees have numbers for different fishermen or whoever has a good sized boat that we could put a portable pump on or whatever. Instead of coming all the way around from Safe Harbor, if you're down at Potts Point, we've got a lobster boat out of Interstate or something that we could put a pump onto. We can get to your place a lot faster.
You have any cooperative arrangement with the town of Brunswick? Because let's face it, White Island, Birch, the Goslings are a lot closer from Brunswick than they are from Safe Harbor, for example.
A lot of times, if we get dispatched to a call that's kind of in that area between Harpswell and Brunswick, they dispatch both departments. So Brunswick has their own boat, we have our own boat. So pretty much it comes down to coordination and whoever gets it first.
we also have the town airboat that we can launch, in your case, Lookout Point. And we've used it before, the airboat's been used a couple times in the fire department up in Long Reach. There was a big fire up there.
Anything else? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming out.
All right, is there anything about anything? Oh.
Hi, I'm Larry Dubisher. You've had a place on Great Island since before I was born. And I was just wondering, we are on Quahog Bay, and we have seen the marina grow and expand quite a bit over the past few years, and all we ever hear is rumors from our neighbors about what the end goal is for the marina. So we were wondering if you could talk anything about that. And also,
Are you talking about the expansion of the marina
Yes.
for the mooring field or the facility itself?
Just pretty much all of it, and because we love the vision of keeping the rural feel, so we were just wondering, to what extent that the marina might impact that rural feel.
I'm not really sure how to respond to that, but the marina's done growing. They have nowhere else to go. They can't go much further on their mooring field. The riparian rights of the people along there will stop that. I was just in there on, I forget what day, Saturday. I went up in there. There's a lot of boats.
I would also add that any of the expansion of that facility went to the Harpswell Planning Board, and they did have to review the proposal based on the town site plan review. I think because it's a marine-related type of, business, that it fell into the area where it was allowed as long as it met certain standards. I do believe the town planner's here, and I don't know if Margaret McIntyre would like to add anything to that. That might have been before she was the town planner, but it did go through the process. If you were in a butter within so many feet, I think it's 250 feet, you would have received 500 feet, you would have received a notice of the public hearing that the planning board discussed the proposals. So there was a public process, but it may be hard for the neighborhood to adjust to the size of that expansion.
Hi, Jeff Buca, Widgeon Cove. I'm curious to know what the plans are about the town dock at Potts Harbor. Could you give us an update on that?
So the town dock at Potts Point was taken out by the January 2024 storms. The town filed an insurance claim. We've received over $100,000 from the insurance company to rebuild. We've put the project out to bid. We actually had a deadline of today. We have not opened the bids yet. I believe we received 3. We have hired a person to get all of our permits. So we'd like to begin construction sometime this fall, assuming we have enough money, which I think we probably do, given we have the insurance proceeds, and the town meeting voters also authorized more funds if we need them. And FEMA is also willing to consider reimbursing our deductible, which was $15,000, and paying for more resilient features, which will be in the new dock. It will be, I think, 3 or 4 feet higher, and there will be some more stability built into that dock. So it should be operational for next season. That's what we're planning for.
Hi, I have some inherited property in,
You mind stating your name?
my name's Janice.
Double like that.
I've never touched one of these. Oh, I can just go like that, okay. So I have some property, in looking at the square footage and our measurements, it's different. And so I'm looking forward, I have a meeting, I have everything set up with Vision for when they get to my property, to be with them. What is the process in my insurance company? And in order to am I able to say to them, okay, here's a document from the town. At what point will Vision be able to provide me if it's different? And if they measure it how I'm measuring it? At what point do I have something in my hand that I can then present to the insurance or present to the town to say, hey, this is not right?
Do you have a building standing right now?
Yes,
Do. And you have insurance on it?
yes.
So,
So right now the insurance measures it at 2,700 square feet. We measured it at 22. So I don't know. It wasn't my property. I don't know.
what does the town assessment say?
27. I called, they put it down to 25, but I still think they're looking at things that it's not heated space and not ever going to be a finished basement, things like that. I don't really know how they're assessing it. So I do have it. I'm just wondering, so they come out and then those taxes don't come back till 2026, is that the plan? And what do I have in the meantime? Like if I were to switch insurance, am I able to?
Actually, I'm the assessor, so actually I'd come and talk to me as soon as possible. I
Yeah,
corrected,
close to the window.
actually, I'd come to the town
Close to
office.
that.
Okay, I've come to the office and come see me, set up an appointment, because I am out doing field work from 10 to 2, but give me a jingle in the morning or afternoon, we can correct it. But this year, I don't understand why you wanted to wait. Did you talk to me, or did you talk to another department, or?
I'm not sure.
Because-
I'm sure I wrote it down.
So, yeah, just make an appointment with me, and I'd rather get that corrected for this year,
Okay.
so that you can have the correct information for your insurance company. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Debbie Turner. Oh, you might have been late.
I think a good point was raised here. If there's an error that you want to bring to the assessing department's office this year, feel free to do so and contact Debbie. The revaluation is not going to kick in until 2026. So I think you're talking about trying to correct something now that would maybe have an impact on your tax bill, but I'm not gonna promise.
That's a town member, so
Okay.
Debbie Turner, assessing office.
All right.
All right.
No, nothing has, no.
We'll wait till you're done.
Or Thursday from 8:30
My name's Lori Levine. I'm very happy to have you guys all here talking to us, so thank you. I had a question. One of the last meetings I attended, there were issues about rising water and access to homes and possibility of roads being covered. So I think there was a study and a group working on that. So I'm just curious where that is, as well as the issue about the hazardous waste spill up at Brunswick Landing at the air base. Just, I know there were PFAS issues in the water, so I just wondered if there's a status on that.
Don't forget.
On the resiliency and sustainability in that area, Nancy West is here from the Conservation Commission, and she may like to talk about what that commission has been doing. They're all volunteer, and they've done some incredible work for the town.
Hi there. Conservation Commission has been interested in roads and concerned about about how to reach people on private roads who might have problems with sea level rise encroaching on the road or various other issues that they might have. The town cannot pay for improvements to private roads, but the Conservation Commission has information for road owners, particularly road associations. If you want more information, look on the town website under Environment for the Conservation Commission. We have links to information about how to form a road owners association if you don't have one. Also, access to some short courses that have been given about how to maintain private roads. How to improve private roads. We know that when you make improvements, you might want to consider things like putting in bigger culverts under roads that might be susceptible to flooding, like in the January 24 storms. So if you're on a private road, it's up to the private road, the people who live on the private road to make road improvements. The town cannot fund that, but we can provide information. So if you are on a private road and don't have a road association, it would benefit you to form a statutory road association, which is a formal road association that the state of Maine knows about. Because then we can send you information about grants that might be available for road improvements on your road. That's only accessible if you're formally a statutory road association. An informal road association, you can figure out who your plow guy is going to be, but if you want to have access to potential grant possibilities from the state, and there were opportunities last summer, then you need to form a statutory road association. It's fairly simple to do. We have links to how to do that, or links to advice on how to do that on the town website. Okay. With respect to town roads, we have had engineering studies done on 5 different roads that will be susceptible to flooding. And those studies have been mostly funded by grants that the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee has gotten from the GoPIF fund, and I don't want you to ask me what GoPIF stands stands for. It's the Government Office on Planning and something or other for the future, maybe. So we've had preliminary engineering studies done on that. Our liaison to the select board, our former liaison to the select board advised us to begin thinking about how the budget committee can prioritize, set priorities for improvements to those 5 town roads over time as the roads are rebuilt on a regular road rebuilding schedule. And Christy, you can help me with that, I bet. How can we plan for the future for sea level rise for those 5 roads? So we're working on this. We're working on a plan for setting priorities so that then some long-term funding can be corralled to be able to make these long-term improvements. So it's in process, both with the Conservation Commission, but mostly with the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee, which is the overarching committee that draws on the other town committees. There's representation from Marine Resources, and the new Shellfish Committee, I'm looking at you, Christy, Conservation Commission, the Town Lands Committee, the new Town Housing Committee. Is that the name of it?
I think you've covered it quite well. I don't remember all of them.
All of those committees feed into the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee. Resiliency and Sustainability Committee is actively working on this. It's going to be a long-term process, but we're fully aware that there are potential problems. Again, remember the town roads, there are town roads and state roads. 2/3 of the roads in Harpswell are private roads, and the towns cannot provide funding. We can only provide information. If you want information, specific information, you can email, I think, the info at conservation, the Harpswell Conservation Commission's information website. Email us and we'll try to get it. Okay? Did that help? Any other questions?
I think those were some good distinctions, and I just want to reiterate. So some of our roads are state roads, and the state would be required to look at issues related to resiliency. The one that comes to mind at the moment is the causeway leading to Potts Point. That's a state road. We have not heard what the plans might be for making that more resilient. People have brought to our attention the town line on 123 with Brunswick, that they have concerns that that could flood over at various times. So we're aware of these state road situations, but we haven't heard what studies are being done there yet, or what, again, the funding mechanism would be. We have specified 5 or 6 town roads that are a priority, and when we do a capital road project, as Nancy suggested, we do think in terms of how can we make those roads more resilient. It does come at an incredible cost. We've seen some of these figures, so we're always trying to consider, are there low-cost ways of dealing with these flooding situations, and the engineers have proposed some kind of temporary barriers that we can put up in advance of storms. That's the least expensive remedy, but whether it works well, I don't know how well tested they are at this point. And then, as Nancy said, many people live on private roads, and that's really the responsibility of those people who live on that road to think about how they make that road more resilient. And if you do form a road association, it's then recognized for possible grant funding. So just try to make those distinctions for you.
I want to add one thing to all of this, and thank you, Christy. There's a subcommittee of the Resiliency Committee which is working on a brochure like one that Rouseck County has done in order to prepare people in the event of a looming emergency, like the advance warning we had for the storms in January 24. So we will be publishing this brochure or leaflet or pamphlet. We're in early stages yet, so that it's much like the Living on Casco Bay pamphlet, which was over there earlier. So what can individuals do, A, to reduce the amount of energy that they're using in their home, and B, be prepared for an emergency, which could be storm related, it could be flooding related, and it could be fire related. So the emergency is the short term. What do you do about hazards, natural hazards in Harpswell? And how can you lead a more sustainable life in your home to to try, I'm going to raise this and I might regret it, to use less water because of our groundwater situation, to keep water precipitation on your land so that your wells recharge, and to use less energy in your home, less energy based on fossil fuels in your home, to save you money and also to reduce your impact on the climate. So that will be coming. We have no timetable yet, but it's great committee working on it.
So we had a second question, and it had to do with the PFAS at Brunswick Landing. We have learned that all of the foam that was in the hangars at Brunswick Landing, that has all been removed. But there's a residual impact of the PFAS that has already gotten into the stormwater drains. And, you know, that place has a history. I can't say that I am an expert on that, but Maine DEP is monitoring. We in Harpswell have a lot of concerns about what ultimately makes its way to the waterways in Harpswell, and Casco Bay, help me out here, Darcy, Estuary Partners, they're doing some testing. You know, they found some down at the outlet by Mitchell Field. I mean, we shouldn't pretend that this doesn't exist in other locations. That was a fuel depot. It was used to offload the jet fuel that was stored in huge storage tanks at Mitchell Field, and then a pipeline sent it to Brunswick Naval Air Station. So, you know, we don't have the same type of issue that they have in Brunswick, but, you know, to some degree there could be some existing. You know, the PFAS issue has really come to light more recently because it's been categorized as a contaminant, but, you know, it hadn't for a long time. It's been used in fire retardant clothing, Teflon. So, you know, it's out there. It's even out there today and still in use. So I think it's something we can all become better educated about. So that's my response.
Yes, my name is George House, I'm based in Plymouth Road. My wife and I just arrived here a week ago, since we were here last year, and noticed there's extensive clear cutting on Basin Point Road. What's that all about?
I believe that just having some foresting done. I think the family's just having foresting done on their property. There's a lot of dead trees being cut down. Yeah, but they are. Yeah. It's a Wooley. Yeah, it's a Wooley family, and it's in tree growth, and they're thinning the forest, which they're required to do. There's a lot of dead trees along there, and if the power goes out, south end, it's usually because one of the trees is lying on the power lines. Anybody else?
Good evening, George Tavares of Oars Island. I just wanted to thank you for keeping your tax rate the lowest in Cumberland County. And I hope that with the proposed budget, it will still remain out that way.
That's job one, by the way. You let her do it. No. If we're good, on behalf of Dave Chipman and Matt Gilly, thanks everybody for coming.